I decided I'd practice and look into a few things. I'm on like 4.5 hours of sleep 2 nights in a row, so word-wise, I'm probably gonna be a little, you know, I'm pretty sleepy. I'm pretty tired. So don't expect me to be very articulate. In one of my sets, I looked at the VOD review, and holy moly, was I slow. Yeah, like that. I get stuck in little awkward movements like that, especially after wave dashing. I get like stuck in this weird shield where I like accidentally shield after a wave dash and then I let go of shield, so it's like all of those frames are like I'm just stuck in that animation. Like I look at pro players and they look so much faster than me and my friends do, and so I think that if I just start moving like mad, I just really nail down my movement, then it'd be much smoother. It's like a weird habit I have of like buffering shield after something. Like why would I buffer shield there? Standing still isn't inherently a bad thing. In fact, it is an action in of itself. So you can tactically stand still. That's fine, as long as you know what you're doing. Like if your opponent expects you to dash back and you don't, or if your opponent expects you to try and dodge a move that they're undershooting or overshooting, and you just kind of accordingly space yourself, I think that's tactical. That's fine. But standing still isn't good when you're just letting yourself get hit. So what I want to do is to limit the predictability in my movement and to get faster in general. What else did I have in my notes? Light shield buffer. I wanted to see if I could buffer a light shield out of roll. I can if I hold Z in the middle of the roll. So that's good. Because I don't want to have to like hold Z and do Samus's terribly long grab to get a light shield going. So I can do that as a Marth killer too. Right? You hold Z in the middle of the roll, and then she'll come out and light shield first thing without doing her stupid grapple. Basically, I wanted to see if he was shielding on platform. I wanted to get a feel for that. But I think it functions pretty much the same. You down B on top of their shield, and you can aerial afterwards. There's some weird sticky walk stuff that people get with Samus. I think it might just be like how Pikachu does his moonwalk, which is not really a moonwalk. I'll see if I can show you what I'm talking about. So Axe does a better demonstration of it. But basically Pikachu can't really moonwalk, except for to pull back out of dash, and then it's like a really weird timing. And there's a way to do it with keeping your momentum. So I think there's something you can kind of do like that with Samus. Let me see. I kind of like that as a mix-up. I betcha that looks like a mistake, so people wouldn't see it coming. It would look like you're giving them an opportunity to come in and strike, because you're like, oh no, my movement! I'm messing up my movement! Bah! So you enter the turnaround animation out of dash, you enter run. The issue about being in run is that you can... Well, I guess for Samus it's not so bad because her traction isn't... Okay. So pretty much the ideal shield stop is out of your dash state. This is your run state. There's a little bit of a delay in the shield stop when you're in run state. There's the difference between dash and run. Pew Pew has a good video on it. Another thing is that in dash state you can't enter down tilt, or yeah, it comes out as dash attack. She just has a really tiny dash state, so it comes out as it's coming out anyways. That's the cool thing about Samus, is that if you just leave your dash state, which her dash dance is like that big, So if you walk forward for a second and then just hold down and press A, you can get a down tilt out right away. You can get an F smash. So you just run cancel with down. And pretty much as soon as you leave that dash state. So that's why it's like how quickly you can do that with Samus is actually kind of insane. So there's a bit of a benefit to having such a small dash dance. Also, she can still foxtrot, which is fine. Basically, imagine that your dash state lasts as far as your foxtrot does. And so as soon as you leave that space, you can do all kinds of things. My edge guarding against Fox as Samus needs some work. I used to be a Pikachu main before this, and so I'm a little spoiled. And so I'm having to kind of learn Samus's flowchart now. Smooth melee. I wanted to describe a concept called smooth melee that I thought of. So Bobby Scar has a concept that he describes as lean melee. And to my understanding, without putting words in his mouth, lean melee is just sticking to the meat and potatoes with your decision making. You know, doing what's necessary and what works in an efficient and useful way. So going for Stomp Knee when you could go for something stylish, but Stomp Knee will kill anyways, so just go for the bread and butter, you know? So lean melee is like cutting out the fat. I think that's what you could probably describe it that way, and in fact he may have. So what I thought of was a philosophy that I deemed, this is why I drive around and for work, and so I think, was a philosophy that I deemed smooth melee. So I watch players that don't necessarily always do the flow chart. They don't necessarily always do the expected option, but they always execute well. And whether or not what they do looks cool doesn't matter. I mean, it can look cool, and these players who I think do what I describe as smooth melee, they often do look cool doing it, but really what they do is they're effective in ways that are sometimes not expected, yes, but effective nonetheless. They execute well, and sometimes it looks flashy. That's like a really poor way to describe it. I should probably write this down and script it out. But basically okay, so if I could put this into a comparison, Kadoran's Marth would be lean melee. You know what to expect whenever you watch it because he's always choosing the correct option, so to speak. Zane's Marth would be what I describe as smooth melee, where he's not always doing the obvious answer, but he's doing what works. His decisions are always effective, or rather I can say they're usually effective, and quite often it looks good too. His movement is clean. Basically smooth melee is just good execution, right? And so with that comes a philosophy of not concerning yourself with whether or not you went 0-2 at your local, because I'm going to start going to local soon, and I've been kind of freaking out about whether or not I bust a route. But I have to kind of pad my expectations because not only have I not gone to those for a while, and people have been practicing way more than me, and I work full time, but it's not healthy to put those expectations on yourself for a game. Like, performance anxiety is a real thing, and I think it really screws with me personally. I get really bad turning nerves. So to cope with that, I've kind of decided that I'm just going to focus on my execution. Did I play well? Even if the other guy wiped the floor with me, was I at least expressing my ideas properly when I played? Or did I get stuck in my movement a lot? Was I failing and dropping things that I would have gotten against a bot like 50 times? That's what I want to concern myself with. Kind of like a stoic approach, you know, only concerning myself with what's in my control. And all these other factors, whether or not I win or lose, whether or not the other guy plays better or worse than me, they don't matter. They go in the trash. What matters is whether or not I execute properly. I'm just kind of going to keep that in my mind, is just like focus on executing well, really get my movement nice and smooth, make sure my executions come out without any hitches, and that's smooth melee.